Okay everyone, before I show you how we're going to start our brainstorming worksheets, I want to show you a couple examples from some other fifth graders in the past who have done this project and what their finished project looks like. So this is probably the simplest version of a project that I've seen, and then I'll show you a more complicated version. This person's project, their story was super simple, and your story doesn't have to be very complicated either. Her story just started with one character, and she's interacting her character with her, so this is her shoe, and she's taking a series of photographs, so she took 6 photographs, and it's kind of a progression. So it starts with her character in one position, and then she's slowly moving her character into a different position, and then from step 1 to step 6, her character changes. So her character is just about a minion, and the minion gets squashed. So it could be that simple. She chose to display her pictures in kind of like a poster form and cut out her pictures and put them all together. So that's totally fine. It's a simple version of a story with 2 different types of characters. This is a more complicated version of a story. So this person is using multiple characters and multiple backgrounds, and she is stapling her photographs together to show kind of like a flip story. So she has one character in a background, and then she's adding another character to it with another background. And then some of her characters will move throughout the background as she takes multiple pictures of that character. Another character is entering the story, and then another character. So she has about 8 photographs here of how her story progresses. She's also adding some text into her pictures, which is totally fine too, to tell her story. So this is a more complicated version of a story. A couple more tips here. If you want to work together on your stories with another classmate, that is okay too. This person, his characters are right here, and he's using some backgrounds to tell a story, but then he's also working with a classmate. This is the other person's character. So their characters are kind of interacting together now to tell one whole part of his story. So that's fine too. So I'm just going to show you now my brainstorming worksheet, and I want you to kind of follow along with me as I go through the different steps of this. So after you put your name on this worksheet, there are 3 spots on the front to just organize the basic part of your story. So what your story is, what your characters are going to be, and what the setting of each photograph is going to be. So my story is just really simple. It's kind of silly. It's about a ninja hamburger. So my story starts like this. Ninja Hamburger does not like the evil fast food leaders, Ronald McDonald, the Burger King, and the KFC man. He has dedicated his life to fighting the evils of these men and to save people like Princess Chicken McNugget and the French fry people so that they may live in peace. So super simple. That's just my whole story. My characters obviously are the 4 people that I just talked about. The Ninja Hamburger, the Princess, the evil leaders, and then the French fry people. So there's more than 4 people here. My setting is just going to be 4 different scenes. So one setting will be McDonald's, one will be Burger King, one will be KFC, and one will be a castle at the end. So just 4 photographs for my story. Once I have that kind of planned out and I have just a basic idea, on the next couple pages, you'll plan out each photograph. So photograph number 1 is your first scene. So you'll plan out what characters will be in your first scene, what the setting of the first scene will be, and what is happening in that first scene. So my first photograph is just going to be Ninja Hamburger and Ronald McDonald. The setting is McDonald's, and they are fighting each other. So from here, I'm just going to make a really simple sketch of what I want that to look like. So what my characters are going to be doing, how they're going to interact, what the scene will be. This does not have to be very complicated. This is just for you to plan out your ideas. So whatever type of sketch you want to make, you sketch that in this box. From there, I'll plan out photograph 2 and what the scene will be, photograph 3 and 4, and then from there, I don't have to do more than 4, but if I want my story to be longer than 4 scenes, I can do 5 and 6. So that is my story. That's what I'm going to start with here. If today you finish planning out everything and you know how everything is going to look, then you can take one of these plastic sheets and start to sketch out and paint your characters. So these plastic sheets right here are just like the ones that Marty Cooper used. They are connected to a white sheet of paper. So what you're going to do first is sketch the first character and how he's supposed to look in the first scene. So the first scene, this is how I want my hamburger to look. So I'm gonna sketch that out first. You can use a pencil to sketch this. So you can draw on the white paper and sketch out your character. And if you make a mistake, you can erase it. Or you can just take a Sharpie and start drawing your character onto the plastic using a Sharpie. So that's what I did for this character here. So once I have that character sketched out, I can use the paint markers to paint in that character. So the paint markers are a really special, specific kind of paint called acrylic paint. So you can use these markers right here to paint in the details of your character. And these markers work in kind of a really special way. So they look like regular markers, but they actually have paint inside of them. So when you're pressing down, there's a little tiny tip on the marker, and the more that you press that in, the more paint will come out of the marker. So if you press really hard and many times in a row, lots of paint will come out of this marker. So this is special paint that will stick to the plastic and it won't wash away, and your characters won't be see-through anymore. They'll be painted. So I can use these markers to paint in my characters. So let's say I wanted to use yellow to paint in this part of my character. I would just go right over the sketch and paint in that area. It's going to take a couple minutes for it to dry, but now that area is not see-through anymore. So I can keep using the paint markers, or I can use, if I can't find the paint marker that I need, the same color, you can get the paint bottles like this on the paint table. Again, it says acrylic paint. This is the type of paint that you need. You can squirt a couple spots onto a paint palette, and you can actually mix this just like regular paint. So let's say I need a tannish color that isn't quite dark brown. I can mix up a little bit of brown and white, just like I would with regular paint. So once I have the color that I need, I can use, I would use a skinny brush, a brush with a really skinny top, and I can paint in some details right onto the plastic part here, just like regular paint. So as you can see, it's becoming not super see-through anymore, okay? So your characters in the end have to be painted all the way so that when we put these into different backgrounds, they look like they're actually in the background. They're not see-through anymore. So you will draw out each of your characters and paint each of your characters. If you need another sheet of plastic, you can use as many as you need to use. Think about the position and the expression of each character and what they need to be doing in each scene.